Well, hello, hello, hello again, and welcome back to another episode of the Summer Spotlight. I am your host, Gayle Nicholson. So glad to see you out there today. If you are watching on Facebook, give us a couple of hearts, maybe some likes. Let us know what's happening with you. Put a comment in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. We would love to deliver you all kinds of content on online entrepreneurs and what they're doing in this pandemic environment. All right, so today, oh my gosh, I get to talk to William Maitre. Now, he is doing some amazing stuff with branding and getting your personality sort of encapsulated in your business presentation. And he does all kinds of stuff to take a look at what you've already got, what might still be working for you, and what might be working against you that you've got out there in the world right now that if you just tweak it a little bit, it could mean the difference between 3 digits and 6 digits. So let me introduce you to Will Maitre, brand attribute strategist over at Vederemar.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, Will. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome stuff. Now, in the course of us talking, I've learned a little bit about your process, and I love the fact that you do, first of all, a 30-minute like consultation cost to kind of get into the head of the entrepreneur and see what the personality of their business could be and how to put that across. So I know that you come from a spirit of service, right? So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about what inspires you about the idea of service, especially when it comes to growing a business.
Right. And the spirit of service really had its origination in while I was in the army.
Really?
While I was in the army, I got ordained as a pastor and transitioned into the Army chaplain program as a chaplain candidate. And through there, I really learned what empathy was, right? Be able to really empathize with somebody.
Hmm.
And when you have soldiers that you're counseling and they're hurting and things like that, and some unfortunately who want to hurt themselves, and you're trying to change their mindset to let them know things aren't as bad, right, and things can get better. You go through that, and you don't look at the world the same,
Yeah,
right?
I would
And
imagine
so
not.
transitioning into the business world and thinking about the different business models out there, um, what I saw was lacking was a real authentic way to deal with people, right? To really understand the person, right? To really understand their hopes and their dreams and what they want to do, and really want to help them, right? No strings, no ulterior motive, just being authentic, and want to just being a service to humanity as a whole.
That's beautiful, beautiful stuff. I know that in talking with a lot of different veterans in the course of doing the work that I've been doing with this show, because of the fact that I have a spot in my heart. I what you call veteran adjacent. My son-in-law is a Marine, but
Hmm.
I've never served. So they have a spot in my heart. And in talking to a lot of them that are recovering from post-traumatic stress that they, got sort of from their service in the military, they all tell me that service to others is what gets them up and out of that mindset too. So I want to thank you for doing what you've done in the service to help military participants in dealing with keeping their mind their own, after the fact. And also I just wanted to highlight how that spirit of service is not just reserved for the chaplains, right? Each one
Yeah.
of us has that ability to be empathetic and to be in
Oh yeah, for
service of
sure.
others, to do what it takes for life to grow as well. And I love that you focus that in on businesses and growing businesses as well now, and taking that skill forward. Now, when you're talking with people that are building a brand, or maybe they've already got a brand, or a logo that they consider their brand, right?
Hmm.
Where do the different components come into it, like motivating factors, like the person's why, right? How do
Right.
you express a person's why, and why would it be important to do so in their branding?
I think the why, is really what drives everything, right? For example, for me, it came down to crafting a purpose for myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my purpose was, to use my skills to contribute something to the world, to really help us all connect regardless of our differences, right? Like I hope to inspire and help businesses be a better versions of themselves. And I'm using design and marketing to accomplish that.
Nice.
Right. And so when I talk to businesses, it starts out with that. It's, what do you want to accomplish, right? In a utopian society, as it were, right? And if everything was going great,
Mm-hmm.
right, what would that look like for you? What does happiness mean for you? And sometimes, it takes us a little bit into a rabbit hole in that 30-minute conversation, but it's really important to really center on your why, because if you do, a lot of things happen a lot faster, right? Decision making is a lot quicker to make,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can filter out a lot of the advertising noises and people trying to sell you things when you know your why, because it doesn't resonate with what you're trying to accomplish. Why sign up for a $5,000 program if it's not even going to put you on the road to where you want to be?
Right.
Right. And so the why really helps, and it interweaves a lot into the business. And that then lends itself to, from the kind of colors that you use, different colors mean different things. And different fonts mean different things. There are
Mm-hmm.
fonts that are more geared towards seriousness. And then there are fonts that, just the way they look, they give you a feeling of light, right? And
Mm-hmm.
funniness, right?
Right.
And colors do the same thing. Yellows tend to be more for, energetic and motivational things. That's why there's a lot of yellows and greens and like any health things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yoga and things like that. You'll see a lot of yellows and greens and oranges, right?
Right.
A lot of software companies, to include Facebook and Zoom that we're using, go with blue, right? Blue helps with establishing trust. It's a relaxing color. It's a calming color, right? And so these things are things that are very beneficial for business owners to know, because they may have a logo with these different colors involved in there that's not really showing them in the light that they want to be shown, right? It's not really expressing their why, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How about shapes? Are there particular shapes? Now, the reason I ask this is that just yesterday, I don't know if you're as a geek as I am, but the United States Space Force released their new logo, which looks
Mhm.
suspiciously like Starfleet Command. Um,
I have seen that, and seen a couple of memes about it. And I think they actually have to get clearance from Netflix to use that
do
logo.
they?
Yeah, Netflix has a movie about that.
Oh my! Oh my! I'll have to do some more research. This is
Yep.
just this. But the point being
Yeah.
that here's the thing: if we're talking about going out into space, and protecting us from whatever might be coming at us from the stars, right?
Hmm.
Then how it kind of stands to reason that the two logos should be similar, right? Because
Right.
the imagery in each one is very it's very similar, but the goal is also fairly similar.
Hmm.
So would you I'm not even sure how I want to ask this, but if the government were to come up with a completely different, for example, star shaped instead of delta shaped logo, do you think that that would carry out their intention for the branding for the Space Force as well as a delta shape?
I think I think the reason they went with the delta shape is because of the symbolism associated with triangles, right? Triangles are normally associated with strength, right? If
Okay.
you look at the pyramids are triangles,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you look at a lot of older buildings in the construction, they have what's called a keystone. All right, the keystone is essentially a triangle,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so they put the keystone in the center, and everything else goes around the keystone, and it distributes the weight,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you're looking at, we'll call it the Starfleet symbol. You know, the outer part of it is basically an oval, right? And,
Yeah.
and the oval and circle normally represents unity, right? And so with the circle and a triangle in the center, it's basically visually, it's strength and unity is what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And it's interesting that you can look at somebody's logo and you can pull it apart like that. If you know what the symbols are and what they mean, if you know what the colors are and what they mean, you can
Hmm.
actually like analyze it like you do. The rest of us are just having it imprinted subconsciously,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
So, it's so I can see how it's so very important then to be delivering shapes that imprint with the message you want imprinted on your potential clients. There's
Right.
just
Yeah.
so
And
much
it's
that
and
goes
it's
into it.
yeah, it's very important to do so. And again, part of the reason why I keep the brand attribute session free is because, coming from a place of where I didn't know about it until I researched it and did these things myself. My prior business and my prior name had the wrong shapes, the wrong colors, and I knew my messaging was good, but it just didn't resonate with people. It just didn't land well,
Mm-hmm.
no matter the combination of the words or anything. And so when I rebranded and became Vederemar and, went with the blue and the black and things like that. And, the message is essentially the same. I tweaked it a little bit as I've learned more. It's resonating more with people and it's landing more with people, and so because of the value that comes out of this session, I keep it free for everybody. I just think, in my opinion, it's almost me doing a disservice, not talking to as many, small business owners as I can to at least help them get that little bit of clarity
Mm-hmm.
because I saw the big difference that it's made for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome stuff. Now, tell me, I want to kind of back up a little bit. Did you
Hmm.
have any kind of like inclination or desire before you had that moment where it was like, oh, this logo is not working for me, and found out why it's not working for me? But did you always have kind of a pull towards colors or a pull towards that type of
Yeah,
thing beforehand?
yeah, and I mean, I'm more, I like blue and I like black. Those are the two colors I liked.
Mm-hmm.
From a marketing standpoint, design standpoint, I didn't know how they would intertwine, how they would use it, and to be honest, for my original company, because I didn't have a clue, I just hired someone to do that for me,
Mm-hmm.
and so we met and went through the process, and she delivered this branding package to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it had black in there, and it had yellow. Right. And those were the only two colors. There weren't any supplemental colors. There weren't any accent colors, just black and yellow. That
Mm-hmm.
was it. And she told me what font to use. And she gave me some examples through this PDF guide. And, essentially, ushered me out into the world. And, and, it's one of those things to where um, I personally thought, we should have spoken more and we should have discussed more about where I wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
where I wanted to end up, what my personality was like, right? Because, to me, the logo is the exclamation point, right?
Mm-hmm.
The logo doesn't define your business, right? But, if we think in terms of a sentence, the logo is the period, it's the
Yeah.
exclamation point,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's also where a lot of small business owners get tripped up is because they concentrate so much on that logo, right? And it needs to look right and it needs to do this when really there's a whole sentence before the logo,
Yeah. That
right?
is,
And
yeah.
that sentence is where the brand attributes come in. That sentence is what gives people that gut feeling when they interact with your brand online, right? That's where they get the warm and fuzzies with you, right? That's where they start.
Yeah.
That's where they start to know you, right?
Hmm.
The logo is just something that reminds them of you, right? If your logo, for example, mine is like a blue stag. It's a geometric pattern with a blue stag, and there's symbolism with the stag. The stag is, an animal that is very adaptable. If you ever seen a deer, they can run full speed or fully committed in one direction,
Hmm.
but the minute they see something not right, they can just shift and
Hmm.
they don't even slow down, right? And so I wanted to use that as, my logo and icon, because I believe that as well. I'm not married to one particular idea, because I think as you meet people, you have to be able to adapt what you do to really serve them well.
Right.
And those are things that, I was never told before. Those were things I had to discover on my own. And with the clients I've worked with, once we go through this session and this clarity that they get, some had the same, reaction that I've had,
Mm.
right? And they're like, oh man, I paid a lot of money for these, things. I got business cards, I got this. And that's where, trying to salvage what they have, right? And just then encapsulate it with some new things,
Yeah.
right? Others who are in better position, they did what I did. They just scrapped it all.
Hmm.
And because they realized everything that they were doing before really justified why they weren't getting a lot of traction, why people didn't get what they were doing,
Hmm.
right? Um, and so it's really important, to business owners that, they get that initial sense of clarity, form that sentence before the period, before the exclamation point. The sentence is actually more important than the logo, to be honest.
Yeah. Yes, that is really true. Now, when you're talking, now, let me ask you this first: the people that come to you for help, right? Do they already come going, I know there's something wrong and I think it's my logo or I think it's my brand, or do you have people that you are reaching out to, or maybe they've come to you and you start pointing out that this could be a different color and work better for you, or this could be a different shape and work better for you, where they start going, no, 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 I paid a lot for this. This is going to stay this way. What kind of
Hmm.
obstacles and maybe even territoriality do you run
Right.
into in going through this process with your clients?
For me, I don't see obstacles, to be honest with you, right? Like I see solutions that we haven't come up with yet. And so I really, pride myself on coming up with solutions and win-wins, right? If someone's in love with their logo, let's try the same logo in just different colors, colors that resonate better with who you're trying to attract. The biggest obstacle, to be honest, is my business model,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the obstacle, because it's different, from what people encounter. Usually you come into these sessions and it's 30 minutes, and then if things don't get accomplished, the a subsequent session, you tend to get charged for it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, um, they'll get a second session for free, because it's really important that they really get the value, right, off this initial call to really set them on a great path.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are those that have spent a lot of money on their branding before, and through conversations and really getting to know them and where they want to go and where they come from. Um, you know, we talk, and I often show them examples of other websites and other individuals who want to accomplish the same thing. And I find that visually seeing it really drives a point home,
Mm-hmm.
right? If, for example, if they're a motivational consultant, but it's just black is everywhere,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Black is great. It's a great background color. It's a great accent color. But it's not the first thing you think when you think motivation and excitement. And so, I take them to, the Live Strong Foundation. They have black, but predominantly it's the yellow and the black really accent that. I
Mm-hmm.
take them to, whether it's like Tony Robbins or different people who, maybe they inspire to be like, they don't see a lot of black.
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that really helps drive the point home that they can really see what these really successful people are doing. And through our conversation, I can point out why they're doing it, and I explain to them why they're doing it. Why does this font look this way? Right? This is why their font looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why is it they have this icon here on this page, but it's not on that page? I tell them that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I also design websites so I can let them know from the on the back end of the website, what that looks like, the bones of it, right?
Right.
And that really is what solidifies it for them. And they're like, okay, I see what you're talking about. I really understand now, right? If I want to even touch remotely the stratosphere of these motivational people that I inspire to be like, there is a model, right? There are colors at work, and the proof is in the pudding, and sometimes, you know, that's just the way it is. And it's not, again, you don't want to discount what they've already done, right? How can we take some of these colors that are more akin to that industry and wrap them around what you do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe we can take these colors and use them as accent colors instead, right? So you can still keep what you have since you've paid a lot of money for it, but let's accent it with these,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or maybe we flip flop it to where we add these new colors and your old colors become the accent colors.
Mm-hmm.
So there's ways to really maximize what they have, because I understand as a small business owner, you have to save up, to pay for consulting packages. You got to save up to do these things. There's no one wakes up, as a small business owner and can just write a $10,000 check for a major branding agency to come in.
Right.
And that's really where I come in. I really want to be able to put these, big branding principles that, Coke uses and all these things, they're learnable skills. I've learned these things, and I want to make it available to people like you and myself, right? So we can present well, present more authentically, be who we are, and have our message and branding really align with, the person that we really are. I think you do that, and people find you. They
Mm-hmm.
understand. A lot of my business is through referrals and word of mouth, to be honest. And so I have Facebook, and I put things on Facebook. I met you know some veterans through Facebook, and we get to talking about their business, um, and there's no sale involved, just trying to help business owners out, and then they meet with me, and then off to the races.
Nice, nice. Now you're in Rob Garcia's Success Engineers group, aren't you?
Yes, I actually was introduced to that group through a really good friend of mine. His name is Bo Blue, and he has a business called Connective Human, and he actually was the one that tipped me off to Dr. Rob, and so um, we exchanged some things through Facebook Messenger, and he told me, hey, I'll manually add you to the group. I think you get some good value out of it. We met through that group,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's really some of what he says, it really works for I think strategies that really works that can help you out. And he comes from a good place as well. He gives a lot of, he's does the Facebook lives every day, and he presents a lot of value, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
are things that you can use right away, right?
Yeah.
I know people that would charge for that 15-20 minutes worth of the nuggets, as it were, and he does it every day.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants people to succeed. And so I think, there's a lot of like-mindedness that way.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I like best about being in that group and being learning from him, and I'm in his monthly mastermind as well, which
Hmm.
wow, the content that he delivers in there is worth every penny and more. But one of the things that Rob comes from is giving tons and tons of value before ever asking for a penny. And that's the model that you have as well. I like to think that I'm doing that as well with what I'm doing with the show, trying to give tons of value because there are so many of us that have had to pivot very drastically during
Sure.
this
Hmm.
pandemic and that are trying to build something like a second phase or even a third phase in life, coming out
Yep.
of the military, going into civilian life and civilian service, so to speak, in business, that he really has a great way of coming across. And I don't know how he does it, but he can take a strategy, right? And
Hmm.
I can use it in my business. You can adapt it to your business. And Joe Blow with the coffee website can adapt it to his to his business. And they're very, very functional that way. So I just wanted to ask you, what is your favorite part of being part of the Success Engineers community?
I mean, I think it's, one, just g- getting to hear, the different, strategies that Dr. Rob puts forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, I've never even thought of. And so, I'm always constantly learning, always trying to get better, right? So then I can better serve, the people I interact with. And I think the best part of being in that group is seeing how, he does what he does, but he's himself when he does it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've been part of groups before that I've left, different Facebook groups where, you get there and you can tell that the advice is coming from a place of there's a program coming up, right? The advice is coming from a place because, I'm going to be seeing something in my email later that's going to require me to purchase something. Right. And so, with Dr. Rob, it wasn't even like that, and it's, when we did our instant message, we exchanged a lot of messages, and he even took a quick peek at my original website and gave me some really good feedback on that website. And, you know, through that, I went and just, revamped the website. It looks totally different now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my buddy Bo as well took a look at it and he gave me some feedback, some of which kind of echoed what, Dr. Rob was saying. And so I was like, yep, he's telling me this. And, Rob, he took time out of his busy day. And for a guy he just met, right, I just met him.
Mm-hmm.
And he went and he did that for me, which was really cool. So in return, what I did for him, just again in service of others, he has an ebook that he sent me. It's like one of the first ones he made,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went ahead and just revamped it for him.
Nice.
Right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I took all the words that he had and just created a better design around it. Right? Just updated it, fixed the layout, created a better design about it, and just sent it to him. Again, no strings attached, just saying, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to look at my website, giving me feedback, all these things. You didn't even know me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I am as well, right? Like I
Right.
don't have to have a really long relationship with you to want to help you,
Right.
right? And so
Yep.
I think he was taking it back a little bit about that too. He didn't think I would do that for him. I didn't tell him I was going to, but it was just, someone, you know, wants to provide a service for you and it comes from a good place, you in turn reciprocate that. And hopefully, and I think he believes the same, and I think you do as well, is, you put a lot of good things out there and then you do right by people, eventually people will do right by you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
And
just sow this.
it may not come directly.
Yeah,
You got to give
yeah, for sure.
space for that because it's not
Oh, of
about
course.
I do for you, you do for me. It's about I'm
Exactly.
of service here, so I can receive service from here.
Right. It's really, you see someone, in his case, he didn't need my help, but it was just, reciprocating, just
Mm-hmm.
giving back to him for, the little bit of knowledge he impart to me,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
previously, other people I've spoken with, doesn't, they would charge you for that, right? Another really helpful resource is I went through this entrepreneurship program for veterans called Strive. It's through the Hillsborough Community College around here, and it's
Nice.
ran by these wonderful people like Andy Gold and Beth Curley. They started it, and they're like you. They have a really good heart for veterans, right? And they want to see veterans succeed. They don't want to see them waste all these cool tools and talents that they have,
Right.
right? And so they, started the Strive program, and it's basically it's like a entrepreneurship boot camp type thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes for 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks. They have different cohorts, and it's really helpful. And it doesn't cost any veterans any money to do it, right? So they get grants and stuff to keep it going,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they want it to be accessible to old any veteran that wants to do it. And they even open it up to the spouses of veterans too,
Nice.
right? Can take part in that. So again, it's just surrounding, myself with, like-minded people that really want to give back, right? That
Right.
really want to see people succeed. And for me, with what I've gained in my design knowledge and what I already had in my marketing knowledge, putting these things together, um, to really put something in this world to just help people improve their station in life. Ultimately, that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. That's noble pursuit, definitely. Now, tell me specifically for those
Hmm.
of our audience that are going to take advantage of this 30-minute free brand attribution call with you. What specifically do you go over on the call? How does that go?
So the call obviously starts off with some small talk, right? To really get to know them and things like that. But essentially, what we do is akin to a word association game,
Okay.
right? And so I have it's 6 columns that we go through. It centers around culture, um, how you see your company, right? How you envision your company. There's a user section, which is how you see people who are interacting with your brand, right? Interacting with your service. And we go through these columns. And so each column has to have a minimum of 5 words in it. Right? We do 5 words, or we can do a combination of words and phrases. But at the end of those 5 words, they have to pick one. And that's where it's the hard part. They have to pick one, right? But the reason I have them pick one is because the one they pick, that's that gut feeling,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's where they come from, right? Because they actually have to think about it, right? If, for example, we have a voice section, right? The voice is how others see you, right? This little column normally takes the longest, right? Because you have to
Okay.
think about,
Yeah.
how do others see my business, right? How do others see me as a person, right? Do they see me as knowledgeable? Do they see me as patient? Right? Do they see me? And they have to go through that. And through there, they have to pick that one thing,
Mm.
right? Just encompasses that whole section. So once that's done, and we have all 6 words and phrases, I take that and I turn it into a 2, at most 3 sentence brand attribute statement. And so this brand attribute statement encompasses their whole business. So it's really concise, right? It's made to fit in like a Twitter tweet, right? 150 words. And I know you can go to 200 words on Twitter, but you can essentially
Right.
tweet this brand attribute statement out. And that's where the clarity comes in, right? And if they choose to work with me, the next part of it is from those words and phrases. I then research their industry and draw out these different colors and fonts and meanings,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we do what's called a stylescape. And that stylescape is a PDF document, and it basically puts everything in visual form. They see, they see what the color scheme looks like. They see the font, and they even see a visual representation of their ideal customer, right?
Nice.
It's totally visual, so that way they can see it. It's one thing to say, you should use pink as an accent color, but it's another thing to see a picture and then the pink juxtaposed behind it, right, or in front of it, and it really brings out the picture, and it totally changes the feel of how that picture looks,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, once that gets done, then we're off to the races, because that stylescape is really the crux of it all. That's where the meat and potatoes is, right? And that's where sometimes, oh, I don't like this font, but okay, well, how about this? I don't like this color. Okay, how about this? We work these little things out.
Mm-hmm.
And once we're done doing that, that's when, the colors are aligned, the brand statement is aligned, everything is working together, and it's starting to become a nice, well-oiled machine. And then now all these things happen, right? We can make brochures, we can, do custom Facebook posts, we can do a whole lot of things. And it's all now going to look the same across, whether it's Instagram, whether it's a Twitter header, Facebook cover header, LinkedIn, it's all going to look the same. And all these social channels that the person is on now all sound the same, right? Even though the Facebook posts looks different on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a different platform. The gist of it is the same, right?
The
The
messaging
the
comes
feel,
across. Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
if someone sees you on LinkedIn, they research you on Facebook, they're gonna see the exact same message but Facebook style.
Yeah.
Right. And if they follow you over to Instagram, they'll see that message, but it'll be more in a visual representation because Instagram is more visual, right? And if they follow you to Twitter, that person has it, how they tweet, the things that they tweet about resonates and ties that back into, the LinkedIn and their website, the colors, how they use how the flow of the website, all these things now are working like in harmony with each other. And so no matter where the person leads are coming from, they're all going to get the same warm and fuzzies about this person. They're really going to get this person.
Nice. That is a ton of value for a free call. That
Hmm.
is amazing stuff. So kudos to you for being of service at such a level to the community. Do you have any final words for our viewers today before we send them on their way into Facebook land?
Yeah. And I think the most important thing is there has to be something more important than winning,
Mm,
right? I think, in business and a lot of these things, it's about being the best and it's about winning, right? If you think about meaningful relationships that you have, a relationship with your partner, spouse, family, right? Nobody tries to win, right? They're all working together, right? You work together as a family to be better as a family, to do things, spend time together. And I think when you get past the I need to win and I need to be number one, and you just focus on your why, which this, attribute session helps you put you on that path, then it's, hey, I'm actually winning, right? You actually end up winning, but you're winning at a more deeper level, right? You're making more meaningful connections. And then your customers see that, right? And so the customers or your clients become brand advocates for you. They tell people about you. I'm living proof of this. A lot of my projects come from word of mouth, and some, individuals I've done work for come back for more projects, right? And it's because of that whole, I'm not trying to win, right? And because I'm not trying to win, there's no, you know, underhanded tactics. There's no quick fixes. It's, this is what you need right now. I understand what you want. Let's focus on this right now. This is going to help you today, and let's work towards tomorrow, right? And and I think that's really, you know, one takeaway if they can is it's to just, be more than about winning, right? Make every interaction meaningful, right? Try to connect at a deeper level. Because I think as humans, that's what we all strive for. That's what we want. And that's why, when we have the term best friend and all these other things, it just, all of it describes connecting at a deeper level.
awesome stuff. Thank you again so much for being here today, Will, and for everything that you're doing in the community and to help people show themselves as who they are authentically by their symbols.
Oh,
It,
you're welcome. Thanks for having me on here. It was great.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Awesome. Well, everybody out there watching, please take advantage of the links that are in the description for you to go and schedule your 30-minute free brand attribute session with Will. And we will see you again tomorrow. So have an absolutely fabulous week, Facebook. Take care, and bye-bye for
Bye.
now. When you open energy work makes that recovery progress so much faster. That recovery is possible. You do not have to live as a victim until your last days. You have unbelievable strength, and I know that because you're still here. Do you want to create something completely unrecognizable with your life. I can show you how.